Hi, everybody. This is Steve from the WellnessWarrior.coach. Today, we are going to talk about sleep. I've had several people contact me about talking about sleep and what they can do to help themselves out. So today's the day. This will be the first show in a long string of shows that I'm going to do every Monday night, 6:30 Eastern. That would be 3:30 Pacific. All right, so here we go. So you should be able to see my screen now. This is my deceased dog, but he's so cute, so I had to put him on here. So sleep. Sleep is basically where the magic happens. And I really, as you go through this today, I really want you to think about not compromising on your sleep, because there's so many good things that happen when you sleep that really don't want to compromise. Because I mean, think about it. When you get a good night's sleep, if you're anything like me, I can pretty much do anything during the day. If I've had 6 hours of sleep, I'm not so sharp. All right. 7 to 7.5 to 8 is the sweet spot for me. And we'll talk about longevity in a little bit as far as what sleep's concerned. All right, let's see. All right, so here's the fine print. I just wanted to go over this real quick. I'm a nationally board certified health and wellness coach. This presentation is for educational and coaching purposes only. This should not be, any of this information shouldn't be taken for medical advice. Any serious changes that you make, you really need to talk to a medical provider. So as we go through today, if you want to make some big changes, it's best, especially with supplements and stuff like that. It's best to talk to your medical provider before you go ahead and do that. Some of those medical providers are psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists, counselors, other mental health providers, so on and so forth. All right, so here we go. There's me. I do a couple things. I am a fitness coordinator for a gym. I do race direct a race called an obstacle course race called Steel City Showdown. And what I like to think about as far as my business is concerned is I would like to help people bring happiness back into their life through health and wellness. So there's a lot of things that go into that, but if you think about it, when you're happy, you don't forget about the problems that you have, but it sure makes it a lot easier to deal with the things that you have going on, if you have anything going on. All right. So an important thing to know about yourself is, why are you, if you're changing your journey and, trying to live more healthy and to eat healthier, to know your why is the most important. And that is totally different for everybody. It could be so you can spend time with your grandchildren. It could be, so like for me, I don't want my chest to be cracked open at 63 for, quadruple bypass. That's one of my whys. Another one of my whys is so I can play ultimate frisbee until however long. I don't know how long that's going to be, but I'd like to have that option. But knowing what your why is super important. All right. And as it says here, when you know what your why is, and even those toughest days become a lot easier. I do like that little quote. All right, so here's the outline of what I'm going to discuss today. Stages of sleep, so you kind of understand what's going on at different stages of the night. We're going to do a quick sleep analysis. So I'm going to throw my sleep stuff up there, and you'll be able to see some very interesting data. I have some data pre-surgery and post-surgery, and you'll be able to see just in my sleep data on how I'm sleeping those particular times, what's going on. And I'll explain more about that a little bit later in the show. What's the importance of sleep? Why do we need it? Hear people all the time say, I only need 4 hours of sleep and I'm fine. Well, how long have you been on 4 hours of sleep or it's been fine? Has it been 20 years, 30 years? And maybe you really don't know what 7 hours of sleep feels like and how you feel after 7 hours of sleep. I want to explain the melatonin and cortisol cycle. That's super important to understand as far as the next one, which is sleep sabotage. And the last thing that I'll discuss is how to change things around. So how to start changing not so good sleep hygiene to better sleep hygiene. All right, so here's the stages of sleep. Let me grab myself a little drink here. W is obviously not a stage of sleep because that's wakefulness. N1 sleep is your transition to light sleep, N2 is light sleep, N3 is deep sleep, and then we have REM. So your brain is awake, but your body is asleep. So there's a certain amount of time that your body should spend in each one of these things. And it's going to be very interesting for you to see the two different sleep graphs that I have when we're talking about percentages of all of these things. There's some little nuances there that you should be able to identify if you do track your sleep and how you do sleep at night. All right, just to explain these a little bit. So N1 is just kind of like that fading out a little bit. N2 is you have a little bit of awareness, but your environment kind of is gone and you're just semi-aware of things, but you're just kind of like in that, maybe call it twilight zone. I think this is an area of sleep that really kind of explodes, and this isn't the one that should explode, especially if you have children, because you're totally tuned in to every little noise that happens, especially when you have little kids, a little tiny burp or groan or something in the diaper, and then you're up out of bed, right? So think about it that way. Deep sleep is that really slow wave sleep. So your brain kind of slows down a little bit. So if you ever heard people talk in their sleep, this is when it happens. People walk in their sleep, like what was her name? Luna from Harry Potter. She was a sleepwalker, so she was N3 sleep when she was walking around. And in REM sleep, you're almost in paralysis. This is when you are dreaming, and this is when the magic happens. You're repairing, things are going, good things are happening in your body. This is where dreams and memories form. This is also an area of sleep where if you had something bad happen to you and you really get good REM sleep, then your brain is able to departmentalize, where you're not going to lose the memory of that, but that's where it isn't a time where that emotion sort of separates from the memory. So if it's a really traumatic experience and you're really hitting the REM sleep really well, then you won't lose that memory, but it won't be as emotional for you as it may have been. I don't personally know if people that have PTS, if they get more REM sleep, if that disassociates those incidents that they experience from the emotion. But I'd be really interested I'm going to bring that up to my post-traumatic growth facilitator person and see if he has any studies on that, because I'd be very interested to figure that out. All right, so deep sleep and REM sleep is where your physical restoration happens. So if you rip down your body at all, either working out or you fell or whatever happens, these stages of sleep or those things repair. So ideally, I had some stuff done to my ankle, trying to get that deep, and REM sleep is super important so my body can focus on that instead of anything else that's going on. All right, do love this giant lazy jaguar. Look at this big fluffy feet pads that he's got going on. Those are amazing. All right, so here's a little sleep analysis. So if you forget about the numbers on top, just look at the graphs on the bottom, you should notice that there's definitely some differences there. I didn't really pick a perfect one for the one on the left, but as you can see, I have a giant block of deep sleep on the left. All right, and then on the right, I don't have as much deep sleep. All right, a lot of light sleep, a little bit REM sleep. I have a lot more REM sleep on the left than I do on the right. And you can see that in the time. So it says like 2 hours. So I powered through 3 hours and 11 minutes on REM and deep sleep on that particular day on the left. So out of my 7 hours and 38 minutes, which is pretty much crushing it for me. On the right-hand side is after I had surgery. So you can see that I have a lot more broken sleep, especially towards the end. I had a fair amount of deep sleep, which is, kind of crazy. But if you look all the way down at like, 2:15 in the morning, I'm getting deep sleep. And then I don't know what happened. Maybe I flipped over and hit my leg or something. I couldn't go back to sleep. So you can see how different those are. And I was an hour and a half short on this post-surgery one compared to the pre-surgery one. And ironically enough, I have 5 cycles in each. That doesn't matter. All right, so this is where you really need to look a little bit more critically if you have an app that really tracks your sleep. So if I just looked at this superficially, I could see that my REM and my deep sleep look to be about exactly the same. But from the last slide that it definitely was not, because, and just by looking at the times, I got a lot more REM sleep pre-surgery than I did post-surgery. Right, so you really got to look critically at those things to see how you're doing. When you track this over a long period of time, and there's another factor in here called HRV, heart rate variability. When you track those over time and you notice that these things are decreasing, that is, if you don't notice there's something going on with your body and with all of your systems, then that's definitely time to suspect that something is going on. When your deep sleep, your REM sleep, and your heart rate variability start to decrease. Mine is really getting crushed right now. I haven't noticed my readings for my heart rate variability being so low as they have been post-surgery. So hopefully as I heal, I get back on my feet and start doing some stuff that'll also increase. So just a little sidebar on that. All right. Okay. So why is good sleep important? So neurological performance is the first reason that you want to have good sleep. All right, to enhance your memory, to improve your problem-solving skills. Those are super important. It improves your memory as well. So also less sleep tends, when you get less sleep, there's a tendency to be more diabetic to have a higher BMI and to be heavier and to eat more. So those are all reasons to think about, am I getting enough sleep? I'm just changing my settings here a little bit. So think about that. As far as your immune system goes, like I said before, sleep is where all the magic happens. So that's when your immune system is also going to help or be improved and help you fight off things better when you get better sleep. When you don't get enough sleep and you're stressed all the time with those stress hormones, and your body doesn't get that chance to really repair itself. So getting that good sleep is important for your immune function as well. There's also studies that talk about helping people lose weight. Just changing the amount of sleep that they get helps people lose weight, right? Because think about it. When you're sleeping, unless you have some really amazing things that happen during your sleep, you're not eating, right? If you're not eating, you're not digesting anything. So your body's able to work on all of these other things, and you're not eating. So obviously it makes sense. Okay, if I'm sleeping, it makes sense that I'm not going to be eating as much, right? When you're sleeping, it's also going to boost those hormones to help decrease your appetite. So when you don't get enough sleep, you kick in more ghrelin, which makes you hungrier, which boosts your appetite. So when you have this ghrelin hormone that's not able to be suppressed because you're not getting enough sleep, then it makes you hungrier. So super important. I'm going to talk about this later also, but when you eat late at night, your body's worried about digestion and not some of these other repair things. So those people that like to eat right before they go to bed, that's not only is that sabotaging your sleep, but it's also sabotaging your rest and repair, your autonomic nervous system, your parasympathetic nervous system. Is helping you make all of these systems better able to do what they're supposed to do during the waking hours. Also, when you're sleeping, the better your sleep is, the better your mood is. So, I mean, think about a time when you really, like I talked about this a little earlier, when you sleep better, I tend to have more energy. And I can notice that I can get way more things done than when I don't get enough sleep. And I'm just lethargic and I really don't want to do anything. So it helps increase your productivity as well. Better sleep helps with your exercise performance as well. So if you're an athlete, getting that really good sleep really helps. Some of you, take exercise classes. Think about, be more mindful about, the sleep that you get, and then, flip that and see how you do in your classes that you take. Is there a difference on how you perform or how you feel that you perform? All right, we're all at different fitness levels, so it doesn't matter if you're a beginner or advanced. Trying to monitor that sleep and being mindful about that and see how that tracks may help you decide that maybe working on your sleep hygiene is super important. All right. Also musculoskeletal growth and repair. So if you work out a lot and you break down those muscles, getting good sleep is the time where your body has a time to go ahead in there and start fixing things. Cellular damage. If you have cellular damage, at night is the time where that stuff's, going to repair the stuff that isn't working as well. Just screen here a little bit. All right, moving on. So I wanted to show you this graph, and I got this from the Journal of Central Nervous System Disease, and there's the citation for it. So there's two hormones in your body that, as you can see, kind of go opposite of each other. All right, you got melatonin and cortisol. I'm sure you've heard of these before. Before you go to bed, you obviously want your melatonin to go up because that helps you go to sleep. Cortisol is a stress hormone, so you want that to go down before you go to sleep as your melatonin goes up. All right, that melatonin kind of peaks about, so we're all different. This shows somebody going to bed at like 7 o'clock. That's probably, but that doesn't show somebody going to bed at 7 o'clock. This shows somebody, just shows the day and night. So let's say this person goes to bed at 9 o'clock. You can see that their melatonin level is still going up. So that's helping them get to sleep. The cortisol level is still way down. And then look what happens before daybreak. Your cortisol goes up and your melatonin is going down. So you want to be less sleepy in the morning. Cortisol isn't always bad. You need a little bit of cortisol to wake up in the morning. If somebody scares you, or you start getting chased by a grizzly bear, you want to be able to get away from it. If you don't have those stress hormones, then your chances aren't that good. So as you can see, these things are going up and down throughout the day. Waking up is a very stressful event. So your cortisol peaks in the morning. Your melatonin decreases. So you can see how this is going. The problem we get into is that when we're always stressed about things, our cortisol is going to stay high all the time, right? And it's going to sabotage everything, our sleep, our life, our metabolic state, everything. So it is important to keep both of these hormones in sync, and sleep is a good way to do that. All right, so how do we sabotage our sleep? So eating too late, I'm going to skip on the second one. Eating too late is a good way to do that. I explained that already. When you have things in your digestive system, your body is going to take care of whatever you have in your stomach and your intestines first. So if you got something in there, you're really not going to get good sleep until that's emptied out. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. No carbs late. All right. For the most part, especially processed food is a stressor, and that produces cortisol. So at night is when you want cortisol to be going down and melatonin to go up. So that's another way we can sabotage. Exercising too late. Some people can do this, but generally speaking, you probably want to, tie up your exercise program, a couple hours, maybe 3 hours before bed as well. Taking vitamin D is another way to sabotage your sleep if you take it too late. Definitely your vitamins should be taken in the morning because it makes you a little bit more alert. So taking them at night can cause you to be more alert and not be able to get to sleep a little bit easier. If you have no ritual about sleeping, that alone could sabotage your sleep. People that know me well will tell you that I am pretty ritual about my sleep. Pretty much 8 o'clock, I'm pretty much done for the day, and then I get up around 4 o'clock. I know that sounds early for most of you, but 8 to 4 is a good amount of sleep. I can usually squeeze in around 7 hours in that amount of time, except for that time I showed you before where I got up at 2 o'clock. But that was definitely some pain going on, and I just couldn't get back to sleep. All right, so staying up too late can also do that. Generally, in our society right now, the reason why we stay up too late is to watch something on TV. And when we watch something on TV or any screen for that matter, blue light is being emitted from those things. The sun also has blue light. So we're evolutionarily wired to think that the sun is up when we're getting blue light. So a lot of times you become more alert, or your brain will become more alert, maybe not your eyes, but your brain will become more alert, and then sabotage your sleep that way. Because then it takes your brain a little bit of a while to wind down to get into that good sleep cycle. And then caffeine too late is another big issue that people don't even think about. A lot of people have a cup of coffee or caffeinated tea, in the afternoon and think they're fine, but I'll show you a graph here in a minute. Probably not. And half-life, that all has to do with the half-life of caffeine. All right, so this graph shows us our caffeine levels by hour. So if we have 20-ounce cup of coffee, and I think, and for this graph, it says at 10 o'clock in the morning. So you can see we get this big caffeine hit. And then throughout the day, depending on how fast we process caffeine, you can get a genetic test to see how fast you process caffeine. But you can see that even at 2 o'clock in the morning, we still have about, 20% of the caffeine that we had at 10 in the morning. So that's another way we really can sabotage our sleep. So I'll get some other information here. So if you have, the half-life is about 5 hours. So think about 10 o'clock. Okay. At, let's see, 10 o'clock, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And if we have, I'm going to use 300 milligrams of caffeine just for math purposes. After 5 hours, there's still 150 milligrams of caffeine in our system. So that puts us at 3 o'clock. After 5 more hours, half of that is going to be metabolized. So after 10 hours of having that cup of coffee, there's still 75 milligrams of caffeine left in your system. All right, 10 hours from 10, that's like 8 o'clock in the evening. All right, then 5 hours after that, so 8, 1 o'clock in the morning, if you just have 300 milligrams of caffeine, then you have 37.5 milligrams of caffeine still in your system at 1 in the morning. All right, so having that caffeine, think about if this graph was all shifted over and you had your last cup of coffee at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, like some people do, they have some after work, or, they buy some sugar caffeine loaded drink on the way home and they think it's dessert and it's just sabotaging their sleep. How much of that caffeine is still left in their system, even late at night. So super important to get that under control. All right, let's see here. Okay, so talked about all that stuff. So how can we improve our sleep? So there's a bajillion different ways that we can improve our sleep. Sleep in a dark room is one of the most important things. You might say, okay, why do you sleep in a dark room? But do you have a TV in the room and it has that little red light that kind of shines all night long? All right, your skin is photosensitive, so that could be, giving you not as good a sleep as you could if your room is totally black. So what I do is I just put electrical tape over all those lights, power cords or whatever those things are called, tape the lights over. We have a air filter, tape all over those lights just so it's as black as can be. Read before bed's a little bit tricky just because nowadays people are reading off their electronic devices. So having electronic devices, like I talked about before, having that blue light can totally sabotage how your brain thinks it's actually sleeping. So that blue light from your electronic device, there might be some that don't have this. I'm not 100% sure about 100% of the electronic devices out there, but reading an actual book before bed is good. All right, and then thinking about the light that you use in while you're reading in bed, if you do this. I can only read about 2 sentences when I go to bed, so this doesn't really resonate with me because I just can't read in bed. Having a reddish or orange-ish light, those things are softer tones. And if you think about it, think about a sunset. It's not blasting light. It's like that reddish, yellowish, orangish light. So having those kind of tones while you're reading in bed, it is going to be more conducive to sleep than having the blue light. All right. They do make blue light blocking glasses. I'm on right now. I don't know if that's just something they, because it seems pretty mainstream right now. So I don't know if they actually do a particular coating on these things that actually do block the blue light. I would like to think that they wouldn't lie to us, but not everybody is as smart as the researchers that are putting these marketing items that are putting the marketing items together are when they talk about these things. So candlelight's another good one to use. Usually people think candlelight's a little more romantic. Be that as it may, having dinner under candlelight is another good way to do that. All right, so those are some of the easy things to do. So now the next thing is how we can really hack our sleep so we can really get better sleep. All right. So all of those other ones are kind of just like easy things. These get a little bit more intense. All right. And we could probably talk about each one of these for about a whole lesson in and of itself. So I'm just going to zip down here a little bit. Light exercise, I'm going to sum up some of these things. Light exercise in the morning. So, getting that exercise early in the day when your cortisol is high and you're, a little more energized or should be more energized, good time for exercise. Magnesium is another really good relaxation mineral. All right. If you take magnesium, always take it at night. All right. Because that's going to help relax your muscles. So not only is magnesium relaxing your muscles as you stereotypically think of muscles, but they also help to relax blood vessels because those are smooth muscles. All right. You have blood vessels in your brain. It's going to help relax those as well. So I may be remembering this wrong, but I don't think I am. I listen to Dr. Hyman's podcast a lot, and he talked about when people come into the ER for migraines, that they usually try all these things, and as a last resort, they give them intravenous magnesium. So he always jokes around saying, well, why don't we give them intravenous magnesium first? Because 50% of people in this country are magnesium deficient. So let's give them the thing that we know works first. Then if that doesn't work, then we can go back to all these other things that are more intrusive to the system. But you know how our medical system is. Using melatonin in the evening can sometimes kickstart you into a good habit of going to bed at a certain time. Getting cooler is another one. So your bed should be about 5 degrees cooler than the ambient air. So they do make something that'll actually cool your bed down and keep you at a lower temperature while you're in bed. So that's another way to hack your sleep a little bit. Guided meditation. Some people are into meditation, some people aren't, but for some people that really works on getting them relaxed. Foam rolling is another one. Get into a routine. Don't compromise on your routine. All right. I don't compromise on my routine, even like on, New Year's Eve. Who cares? Doesn't matter, right? A good hack for that, and this is total side note on all of this stuff about sleep. Somebody told me one time that they celebrate New Year's Eve, and then they do a theme night. So, like this person I was talking to said they do a theme night, and they celebrate New Year's Eve at the hour that the country that they're doing the theme night celebrates New Year's Eve. So they were doing Switzerland then. So that was like what, 6 in the evening for us. So bam, I like that idea, because then I can go to bed when I want to go to bed. Another thing, moving down the list, is fix your stress. There are so many stressors out there. Finding a way to de-stress is really key. And I'll have a whole talk on just stress, so I'm not going to go into that today. But fixing your stress can really help increase your restfulness of sleep during the night. Grounding. Some people think that's kind of fake. Other people really have gotten some amazing results out of grounding. But grounding is just putting your feet on the actual ground on the earth. All right, so actually they have grounding mats too that are connected to the earth, but the easiest way to do that is take your shoes off. I know it's hard right now because there's like 12 inches of snow outside, but taking your bare feet and putting them on the actual earth. Concrete is connected to the earth, so that works as well. But think about all the stuff that you've learned with neurological systems in your body, how there's positive and negative charges that are going. A lot of time when we're in shoes and on the floor in our house all the time, we don't get that chance to get rid of those charges and neutralize our body. All right, if you believe in that kind of thing. So doing that grounding thing helps you to reset your electrical equilibrium in your body. All right, and again, that's a whole class for a different day. Orange glasses, so that blue light doesn't come in. Get natural light during the day. So as soon as you wake up, as soon as that sun comes up, get some of that actual solar radiation in your eyeballs to really tell your brain, okay, it's morning. It's time for me to be up and start doing things. Okay. Again, it's hard in the winter, especially in the Northeast, because it's miserable most of the time. But even looking outside when it's light outside can do the trick. An acupressure mat is another thing that's easy to do. They're cheap. They feel weird, but that's another thing that can help with your sleep. Clear your mind. Gratitude journaling is probably the easiest thing to do that most of us don't do, that allows us to get our brain in a positive state of mind, thinking about what are we really thankful for that happened that day. So just another way to start thinking positive thoughts and giving yourself positive energy so you can sleep better. Light stretching before bed, very light stretching can help relax the muscles, relax the body. Herbal therapies can help, as well as relaxation practices, right? Whether that be breathing, coach people on how to breathe and relax a little bit more. Some other things that really inhibit sleep is EMF radiation, which is electromagnetic radiation. So it is really best for you to keep your phone out of the room. I know it's hard for a lot of people, or even putting on airplane mode will limit the amount of electromagnetic radiation that your body will get while you're sleeping, right? All right. There's some essential oils that also can do some things. Lavender is one of those that is, generally used for, the relaxation thing. All right. So towards the end of the shows that I like to give you some things to, think about for the week. So this week's one thing is to try to limit your screen time, especially an hour before bed. Read a book instead of an iPad. Think about sleeping rituals. How could you make them consistent from day to day? Don't let anybody sabotage your sleep. You're trying to, accommodate people and be social, but like I say, you got to take care of number one before you can take care of everybody else. And I think we lose sight of that a lot of the times. All right, just say no to these things down here, at least an hour before bed. All right, so like I said, this is Steve. I'm the Wellness Warrior. My website is WellnessWarrior.coach. If you want to find out a little bit more about me, you can find out more about me there. I have a bunch of programs that I help people navigate through their lives. The health and wellness coach is to guide you and help you through whatever really you need help with. Health coaches look forward, therapists look backward. So just give you a little delineation. So we deal with the happy things moving forward. All right. I appreciate you coming. Thank you for listening today. And if you have any questions, you can list them down at the bottom, or you can send me a message at WellnessWarrior.coach. Thanks for coming, everybody.